Hello, everyone. This is Lily Dale Radio, and I'm Colleen Vanderzijden, the host of Embracing Your Essence, live here on Lily Dale Assembly and live on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us today. As I said, I'm Colleen Vanderzijden, and the name of the show is called Embracing Your Essence. It's all about you, what we can do to help you live your best, most awesome, wonderful life. And today we are going to be talking about healing the past. Before I get to that, we are also going to talk about some details of things. You want to make sure you're following Lily Dale Assembly Incorporated on Facebook. You can find out all about the events that we have, everything that's going on. And you also want to follow lilydaleassembly.org, their website. You can see what's happening there. I don't think it's updated yet, of course, for next year with the workshops for next summer, but they'll be coming probably just in a few short months. Won't that be amazing? You can follow me at Colleen Vanderzijden, medium and intuitive life coach, and you do want to follow me there because I have a special thing going on, and I want to tell you about that in a few minutes. Let's see, what else do I have to tell you? I can't think of what else. So tonight, like I said, we are going to talk about healing the past. We're going to talk about 4 ideas to help you. I originally said it was going to be 3, but as I was looking through my notes today, I thought, there's another one here. So we've got 4 ideas to help you break those obsessive thoughts about the past and how they get there. There is so much information I'm going to share tonight. It really is a mini course. I could make it into 3, 4, 5-hour course. I'm sure of it. But I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can in this short 30 to 45 minutes so that you can move forward and not get stuck in the past. One more detail before I go on. I am going to be offering a free course called Courageously You for Less Stress and More Joy in 2021. We've had quite the year in 2020, so I'm going to give you some suggestions, some strategies, things that can help you move forward in 2021 so that you have more joy. This free course will be an online course through my spiritual growth and support group, which is on my page, Colleen Vanderzijden, Medium and Intuitive Life Coach. I have it pinned to the top, so you should be able to find it. Join that group if you haven't yet so that you can participate in this free class. It will be a 5-day class, 30 minutes, probably a little more because I tend to talk a lot. So 5 days in a row, a Sunday through Thursday is what it will be, starting around January 11th is what it's looking like right now. I will firm that up and let you know. But join that group if you want to participate in this. It literally is free. I'm just going to be giving you a whole bunch of information as much as I can. So, as I said, I'm Colleen Vanderzijden. If you don't know who I am, I'm a registered medium at Lily Dale. I'm also a certified intuitive life coach. Been hosting radio shows for 4 or 5 years now, actually, where I share my tips to help you have a better life. And today we are, as I said, talking about healing the past. Have you ever caught yourself stuck in the past, obsessively thinking about a troubling situation? What we tend to do is we fixate on those details and we re-experience that emotional turmoil. We might relive a past relationship, how it could or should have been different. We replay those hurtful comments a family member or a friend has directed at us. And what happens is we amplify those painful feelings and we get ourselves stuck right back in the moment when we felt judged or criticized. We end up beating ourselves up, then reconstructing how the conversation should have gone if only we had been quick enough to come back with that comment that would have either put that person in their place or would have let them know how hurt you are or help them understand you. We end up revisiting our worst losses and our traumatic experiences. And I know many of us have done this. And what happens there is we immerse ourselves in that grief again, and we drown in our pain and we don't know how to get out. We can't climb out. We replay and rebrood over our mistakes that we've made in our lives, how we should have done this or done that differently. We emotionally attach to our failures, reviewing all of the proof, in quotes, of everything we've ever done that proves that we are stupid, unworthy, and unlovable. We end up having those sleepless nights where we are thinking about things over and over, and what happens is we are listening to this uncontrollable, endless reel in our minds as we sink into misery. Have you ever experienced that? I bet you have. Before I get to some things on that, I do want to check in and see who is here and say hello to people. So if you are here, say hello. I love to hear where you're from. If you want to share any stories about your past and some of the stuff you've experienced, I would love to hear it. So hi, Barb. Nice to see you. Last Friday, it was so crazy, I bet. I had Leanne and Edith and Megan. And today is crazy too, huh, Barb? Hello, Mick. How are you? And Leslie, Leanne, Ray. So, Lorna, yes, this topic is something, isn't it? When I started planning out what I was going to talk about, I had no idea all of the information that was going to come out of me. That's why I think I could teach this for 4, 5, 6 hours. I will cram as much as I can in because I want to make sure you leave this episode of Embracing Your Essence with strategies and how to move forward. I want to make sure you've got something to do. So as I'm talking, if you start to all of a sudden you're thinking, well, what about this? What about this? Don't worry. I'm probably going to get to it, and make sure you can ask questions at any point in the comments. And I usually check them fairly regularly and I will respond to them. So hello, everybody. Oh, so many people. Yay. Nice to see you, Darlene. Oh dear. Rachel, I have nightmares every single night, stressful ones. Ooh, I talked about dreams once a little while ago. Maybe I should touch on that again. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Lisa from Pennsylvania. Okay, this is going to be something, isn't it? So, healing the past. We've all had these episodes of something happens, in the past, and everybody has had difficulties, challenges, all of these things. We've all had them. Why do we get stuck, though, reliving in the past? Why do we get stuck? How does this happen? And my theory, as of today, is that usually we haven't fully integrated the lessons. And as you know, lots of times we learn things from our past, which I will briefly talk about. But sometimes also we haven't thoroughly processed our emotions too. We may think we have, but we may not have. So what's happening with these past situations is our healing is incomplete. There is something about what happened in the past that is stopping us from fully integrating everything so we can move forward. What healing means is that we're actually going to release the emotional charge of those old wounds. We want to release the emotional charge. We want to let go of the pain, right? That's what it is. Because how many times are we, lying in bed at night, right? And all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And the next thing you know, your mind is going in that endless reel, that story on and on and on. And you can't get back to sleep if you were even to sleep at all. And it continues and continues and continues. So what happens is this pain comes in. And eventually, for healing it, what we want, our goal here, is to be able to look back at the situation, whatever it was, look back at it, but without that misery. We don't want to have the misery. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to release the misery. Now, while the thoughts and feelings of the past, these things seem to come from out of nowhere, don't they? You'll be perfectly fine, and all of a sudden, boom, right there, it's in your head. And what frequently happens too is it overwhelms us, and it overwhelms our ability to stop it. We try to stop it. Oh, make it go away, make it stop. I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That doesn't work very well, as you know. And as I've practiced as well, and I'm sure all of you guys have done the same thing, where we sit there and go, oh, I don't want to think about that now. I'm not going to. But it doesn't really work. Okay, so we're going to talk about some ways to just shift this. Okay, take what you can, whatever works, try it. I'm telling you, I've used it because these things, everything I teach you, I have taught and worked with and used myself. If it didn't work, I wouldn't tell you. So it definitely works. So use what you can. But even with all this where you feel like you can't stop it, you don't have to stay stuck. It is possible to break the pattern because it really is a pattern. It's an unbidden pattern. It just comes in. It's a habit. Your mind is doing it. And even though we think our mind has a mind of its own, you do have some control over it. So let me tell you how this usually works for you. What usually happens is you'll have a negative thought will just pop into your head. You'll just have this thought. And then you'll have an emotional reaction to it, right? So you have the thought, then you have the emotion. Then, this is where the problem begins. We unconsciously focus on that emotion. And we feel into it. So if we're feeling sad, we'll get more sad. And we recognize we're sad and we're getting sadder just because we're thinking about it. This actually gives that thought you had more power. So you're giving your power to this thought. And this, what happens is it creates this endless story loop in your head. It just goes round and round and round. And the emotion feeds on itself, getting you more and more worked up until you feel like you can't stop it and you feel like you're going crazy. And you're telling yourself the story of how you've been wronged. You're telling yourself the story of what horrible thing happened, and you're replaying it over and over. So here's an example. Let me just check comments, make sure I've noticed everybody. If anybody's had questions, I want to make sure I get them. So hello, everybody. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is an amazing topic here that I think so many of us can benefit from, healing the past. And if you don't know who I am, I'll tell you again, then I'll get right back to it. I'm Colleen Vander Zijden, a registered medium here at Lilydale. I'm also an intuitive life coach. So as we're talking about this, we've got the thoughts that pop up into our head. The emotions amplify it. They get it going. They really get it going. So we're going to have an example. So let's say your partner had an affair. It's been a few years since he left. I'll say he just because I'm a female and that works for me. So it's been a few years since he left and your relationship has ended. You feel like you've processed everything and you're doing great. Everything is wonderful. You feel wonderful. And then out of the blue, one night, of course, you're lying in bed and boom, there it is. Your mind decides it's time to bring it back up. Anything can trigger it, could just happen. Your thoughts might go like this. I can't believe he had an affair. Did he really think I wasn't going to find out? Does he think I'm stupid? Didn't he love me enough? Didn't I love him enough? Why wasn't I good enough for him? And you know how that goes. One thought leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Then with those thoughts, then the emotions kick in. You loved him and it was really painful because he deceived you. And now you're sad and you're angry. That brings up more and more thoughts. Then more and more emotions start coming in. Next, you might be reliving the shock of how you found out what happened. So now, then you're moving into self-pity and you're like wallowing in it and you're consumed with these feelings that you're not lovable. What has happened is you've created unconsciously. You didn't do it on purpose. You know, our minds, what do they call that? Monkey brain or something when your mind just goes crazy up there? Your mind has unconsciously created an endless story loop about how you're unlovable and how you're not worthy of having love, or how he's a jerk and he did you wrong, or how you're stupid because you didn't know better. There's usually a theme here when we get into that endless story loop. Usually centers around somehow we're not good enough. Yes, Darlene's saying doesn't sometimes it's triggered by something. Yes, sometimes it can be triggered by something. It is amazing. If we were really aware of all the thoughts that came in and out of our minds, I think we really would go crazy. But sometimes those certain ones just stick out and they get us. And so, you could see something or pick something up and all of a sudden it reminds you of something else and could trigger it. So it's not always at night. So what's happening with this is this endless story loop. It's just being fed into by your emotions. Okay, we're going to talk about emotions in a few minutes. But what's the first step here that I really want to emphasize is that your present moment is now obsessed with the past. You're using the present moment to keep the past alive. You're not doing it on purpose. It's just happening. But if you're aware that this is what's happening, we can break this pattern. We can change this. And yes, even when you're looking at everything, you're going in the past, you're looking and checking all these things. Yes, well, things could have or should have been different. If you want to heal the past, the first thing you need to do is get back into the present moment. Because what's happening is you're getting sucked back there. You're using your moments and you're getting sucked back there. You want to get back in the present. You can make the choice to stop using the present moment to relive the past. And I know so many of us go, but I can't stop it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's a choice. You have a choice. You don't have to relive it. Yes, it appears that your mind is going crazy. That's because it's had so much practice. Like when it goes back to that same thought over and over and over again, it's practiced it. Somebody said to me today that it was something along the lines of that. They felt like they had a direct channel to that issue, whatever it was. So your brain has practiced this. So of course you've got to break the habit. Who's going to break the habit? You're going to break the habit. Nobody else is going to break it. It comes from making that simple choice. You're going to make the choice to not do this. You're going to, now here's the thing. Some people are going to make the choice to stay in the emotions and thoughts. because they feel justified. They believe that they can't move on until they get this or that. They can't move on until this person apologizes. They can't move on until this person understands how much you're hurt. Whatever it is. Okay. So some people are going to choose to stay in the emotions, but you don't have to. If you want to be happier, have more joy, move forward in your life, you can make a different choice. If you want to heal the past and be free of the pain, now is as good a time as any to decide to move forward and make the decision so you can be happier. Just by making the decision sets everything in motion. Okay, this is the first step out of my 4 ideas. Okay, this is the first step, and it's very simple. Doesn't mean it's always easy to implement, but if you understand it, you can do so. You can choose the pain or you can choose the joy. You get to do whatever you want. If you want to break the pattern, you can keep feeding the negative emotions, or you can reclaim your power and get back into the present. It's your choice. You get to do whatever you want. Let's see. Leanne is saying, it's the ones that steal your day after day that take you down. It is. And as that person said to me today, something about that direct channel back to whatever issue it was. Our minds have these habits. We've been doing this so long, and it's unconscious. We're not consciously saying, oh, I hope I can go back and think about this and be in misery. We're not doing that. It's just happening. So if we can accept that that's what's happening and just kind of detach from that a little bit and go, oh, I see what's happening here. And then you make that choice to get back to the present. And I'm going to give you a strategy to get back here. Okay, that's very simple to implement. So you can choose this. It's your choice. One more thing, I'll check the comments again. Barb is saying, don't you have to make that choice over and over? You do. And the more frequently you do it, the easier it becomes and the quicker you're going to get to these things. And you'll see what's happening. You'll be able to notice that pattern and habit right away, and you'll be able to break the habit. Tom, this is good, Tom. Thanks. You're not responsible for the first thought that comes into your head, but the second thought, that's your choice. That's amazing, isn't it? Because yes, that first thought comes in, then we get that emotional trigger, and then the next one comes in, and then the next emotion, and so that cycle starts all over again. It just goes and goes and goes. So you have the power. You have the power by making the choice to do something differently. And the first thing, a simple way to break that story loop, very simple, and get back into the present, is to check in with your body. How many times do we just not even do that? Just ever. But if you intentionally get back into your body, there are several options. I'm going to give you some ideas. Pick one. Just pick one, and that will work. If that one doesn't grab you, try another one. One thing you can do is you can focus on one area of your body. Okay, I used to practice this years ago when I would get migraines. So it would hurt right here on the top of my right head there. So I would focus on my left foot. Okay, so focus on some part of your body. Just notice it. You want to notice how it feels. You want to notice how it feels on the inside of your body. Can you feel the blood moving around there? Can you feel the muscles? What do they feel like? Are they tense? Maybe some of you might even feel tingling or heaviness or lightness or bubbly feelings. You might notice all sorts of things. You could notice how the skin feels, how your clothes touch your skin. You might notice those things. So you just really, really focus on it and go inside it as well. Go inside your body. Doesn't have to be accurate, doesn't have to be true. Just notice. So you're taking your mind and focusing on something. You want to, the next thing you can do is, and this one is very simple, and sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on how well you can hold your focus on this one, is literally to count your breaths. But here's the good part, the added benefit of this. It's not just going 1, 2, it's not that. You want to, as you breathe in, feel the air going down into your lungs. And on your exhale, you want to feel it coming back up. Okay, so you're going to focus on the body sensations as it relates to your breath. So if you're paying attention to what it feels like, as well as counting, that's using your brain. That's going to keep you focused. Okay, it's going to keep you here in the present. Okay, you can feel your chest expand. You might feel yourself starting to relax as you exhale. You might feel all sorts of different things because now you're paying attention to your body. The body is a great thing when we need to get back here in the present. Another thing you can do is using your senses. Okay, so if you're sitting there and you've got these unbidden thoughts in your head, listen to the sounds around you. Do you hear birds outside? Do you hear wind? Do you hear the heat coming on in your house? Do you hear clicking on the floor? Do you hear the cats walking? Whatever you hear, the ticking of a clock, or maybe you have silence and you can hear the silence and really get into the silence and you really focus on it. You really immerse yourself in it. It's not sitting here going, oh, I hear this, I hear that. It's listening to the ticking over and over, and then maybe your attention diverts to a different sound. Same thing with visuals. Okay, you can look at something in your room or outside. You look at it and you really look at it and you think about the object. You think about what it feels like. It's like you visualize it in your mind, even though it's right in front of you. Maybe you'll touch it, whatever it is, so you keep feeling it. You might feel the chair, you might see it. If you regularly check in with your body using all of your senses, throughout your day, what happens is you'll get used to this. It'll become a new habit to check in with your body. I could go off on a whole other topic about how that can help you with many, many other things, such as warning you that something's going to happen or telling you if something's right, the next step is right or wrong, because you'll start to know when your body is telling you, giving you messages. The body barometer is a wonderful thing. So you'll be able to check in with this, and it's going to get you physically back here in the present. This is also great at night if you have that compulsive thinking that prevents your sleep, okay? So when you're in your present, and that's just a simple way to get back in your present and just to check in with your body. I didn't want to overwhelm you with 200 things to get back here into the present, but those are some things that really work. The next thing that we need to do to heal the past is to release the emotional charge. Because remember, the emotions are what's building everything up. Now, we can't push these negative thoughts away. We want to push the negative thoughts away. We want to push the feelings away. We've all done that. And that actually that makes it stronger. It makes the feelings more present in your life and in your body. Okay, you can't really ignore them for long, and I know many of us have done that as well. We ignore the feelings, we ignore the emotions. I'm just not going to pay attention. That only lasts so long before it resurfaces. Okay, and that brings in bigger problems. And frequently what we do when things are going on, and this applies to any stress, not just reliving the past, is if it's unresolved and incomplete, which is really what I'm talking about, then frequently some of us will self-medicate. You know, we eat too much, we shop, we drink, whatever it is. And obviously we don't want to do that. So what's happening is we're resisting this. We're resisting it. What we want to do to release the emotional charge is face the emotions. We have to face them. We have to step into them. And here's a wonderful point. When we do that, we don't want to be attached to the story that we're telling ourselves about this. What's happening is your emotions are responding to your interpretation of the past, what should have or could have been. So you are interpreting whatever happened, which is causing the emotions. So if your relationship ended, you might be thinking, if only he had done this, we could have fixed the problem. Or, I can't believe I stayed that long. I'm so stupid. So the interpretations, I'm stupid. So these interpretations are what's creating your emotional reaction. So yes, Leanne is saying we have to learn to work with the emotions as they come rather than fight them. Yes. And that can be hard to do because we do feel out of control with that sometimes. And moving into acceptance might be a step too much. So what we're going to do today, what I'm talking about today, is to let go of these stories, let go of these interpretations. And then what happens, and this is so cool, is you actually face the emotions at a different level. You'll be more objective and realize that the emotions actually come and go. Okay, sometimes we're afraid of the emotions because we think they're going to be too strong, too big. We don't want to step into them, and so we don't express them, and that's when we hide them, suppress them, and we ignore and deny them rather than saying, oh, I love feeling sad. We don't necessarily want to do that, but we need to accept it's there to some degree. But if we can recognize that without the story, the emotions aren't as strong. It's really something. So if sticking with the story about the guy who had the affair. So if you know your husband had the affair and you have made the story all about you and that you're unlovable, when you think about that, what you're feeling, the emotion is, I'm unlovable. So you're going to start to feel that. But if you take that story away, that interpretation away and you say, he had an affair, and just leave it at that. Okay, now you're like, okay, what emotion is it? Am I sad? Is it really that I'm sad and I need to express that? So if you're just sad, express it. And you'll be surprised at how quickly it passes. The story we tell ourselves is what creates the misery and suffering. Our situation may have caused pain, but we've made it worse with the stories we tell ourselves. We don't even know we're doing it. We're interpreting unconsciously. Immediately we interpret everything. We always do. This is what makes this story, this endless loop of how we're not good enough, how we're unlovable, how we're unworthy. That's creating so much of the problem. We might say to ourselves, if only my ex would apologize for the affair, I would feel better. If only I'd been a better wife, he wouldn't have had the affair. We believe we're victims and we don't have the power to change. But we are not victims and we do have the power to change. We don't have to stay there. We don't have to stay stuck in the stories we tell ourselves. We don't have to stay stuck in the stories about ourselves or whatever interpretation we want to do. Would you rather choose to stay in the pain, repeating the stories that keep you there, wanting somebody else to do something to help you? Or would you rather be free of the pain? Again, another simple decision that you can make. Let go of the stories. Is it really more important that somebody apologize to you before you're willing to release the pain? Is it really more important that you understand everything before you release the pain? It's highly unlikely you're going to get those things. You may not. So why would we want to fixate on something that's not going to happen, we're not going to have the answers to? We may never know. It may never come. Why would we want to do that, hold on to that? Sometimes we unconsciously tell ourselves a story if we don't get those things, the apology, the understanding, whatever it is. It means that we are approving of their behavior. But it doesn't. It means we're accepting life was the way it was. That doesn't mean we're approving of it. That doesn't mean we love it. What it means is that you're letting go of the pain. You're making the choice to let go of the pain. It's not the same as approval. You're definitely not approving it. You're choosing to change it. Now, here's an aside that I've mentioned previously. You know what you can do too to help is to change the interpretation. It doesn't have to be true. Okay, he had an affair because, and then you make something up that's insane. He had an affair because, let's see, I can't think of anything insane right now. Because he has a goal in his head that he wants to sleep with 400 people before he dies. How about that? That's a little bit insane. But you make something up that has nothing to do with you. You change the interpretation that has nothing to do with you. Sometimes that can help. It's kind of fun to play with too. Let me check the comments here. Rachel, I'm afraid I don't have a specific event that causes the nightmares, just my past in general. So Rachel, digressing from the topic for 2 seconds here, you might want to get a dream book and check into some interpretations of dreams. I did a show on this a while ago. It's probably somewhere in the video tab on my page, but I do believe it's a while ago, like a year or a year and a half ago or something. But you might want to go in there and see some of those. Dream interpretation is so very interesting. Usually, sorry, I'm going to digress for just a second, everybody. But usually in a nightmare, what happens is whatever is giving you the fear or the pain is representative of something within yourself, a fear you might have. And of course, sometimes we just have dreams that are processing our lives. Okay, so sometimes those things happen, but that might be fun. And another thing to do would be to write down your dreams and then play with a little bit of dream interpretation. You might find it interesting. Okay. Mick, sometimes we're afraid that when the emotions come that they'll never subside. I like to think of those emotions as echoes from the past. Eventually they do move on. Ooh, love that. Echoes from the past. Yes, it is some very true. Actually, in my book, I have a chapter in my book about emotions and how some stories in there about how people find it very hard to allow the emotions to come up and how important it is for us to do that. Lisa, did you get a sneak peek at my notes here? I'm struggling with forgiving myself and wanting forgiveness from the ones involved in this very fresh event. I am going to, for the very last thing tonight, tell you a forgiveness process to help you forgive yourself and forgive others. And remember, we're working on healing. Healing is releasing the pain, letting go of it. We're not approving. We're accepting what's happened because life sucks sometimes. So we're going to accept it and we're going to move on because we want to choose the joy. So you get to choose what's more important. Is it more important to hold on to those stories of how you've been wronged, or hold on to the stories about how unfair life is, or how sad life is, or how this isn't right? Yeah, those things happen. But do you want to hold on to it? Or do you want, and for the rest of your life, and waste all your moments for the rest of your life living in pain? Or do you want to let them go? Make the choice to change the story. You're going to change the story. If you want to hear, if you want to heal, if you want to move on, you get to make the choice. It's amazing. So you want to get back in the present. That helps so much because you got to get out of that cycle. You got to break the loop. So you get back in the present, and then we're going to start with the changing of the story. We want to change it. You want to experience your emotions without the interpretation to the best you can, okay? This isn't something that you may or may not be able to grasp that right away, but you want to face those emotions. You want to make sure you go there and step in to the emotions. For some people, the simple awareness that you don't have to hold on to those stories is enough. You don't have to. If you need permission, I'll give you permission. Let it go. Just let it go. You don't have to hold it. Even if your interpretation is 100% accurate, if it's still causing you pain, then we got to work on letting that go. So some people can just move into this. Oh, I get it. I don't have to hold on to that anymore. I really don't have to. It's a choice. So some people can do that. But sometimes there's another layer that needs to be addressed. This is the third thing. If the emotions are stubborn, it's likely there's some aspect of the situation that is unresolved or incomplete. Something hasn't finished yet. You might notice that when your emotional charge is strong, you may have told yourself a disempowering story, one that emphasizes, try that, the fact that you're not good enough, in quotes. So what you can do is intentionally and objectively, that means without emotions, is look at the past so you can discover the lessons from the past. Different stories, doesn't have to be related to the whatever issue or past situation is causing you pain and grief. It doesn't have to be related to that, but to look at other issues that you've had in the past. Look at these things so you can see the lessons that you learned that contributed to you reclaiming your power and getting back to you. Okay, so you want to look at some other things. You want to see how you became stronger. You want to see and understand who you are at a deeper level. So, you know how something happens and we always learn something from it. And sometimes we can take those and integrate it and go, oh, I learned this and that's great. And sometimes people resist doing that. They don't want to. Again, sometimes it's because they want to hold on to the pain. Oh, I don't want to learn anything from that. I want to live in my pain. Well, you have the choice. You get to do whatever you want. But if you can look back and see what you've learned in other situations, how you become stronger, you start to see yourself and your life in a positive event. Now, a positive light. You get to see yourself in a positive light. This doesn't minimize whatever has happened in your life, okay? What we want to do is look for those hidden blessings. And we want to recognize that we have the strength and how we've learned. And we learn to love, and the more we do this, we learn to love and trust ourselves. We learn to rely on ourselves. The more we honor who we are and what we've learned, the more joy we have. If the story you tell yourself is disempowering, it's easier for you to get sucked into that past, to get stuck in there, re-experiencing all the negative emotions. So what the whole point of this little aspect here that I'm trying to share is that if your story is disempowering, you have an inner voice that's telling you you're not good enough in whatever way it is. But if you can look back and start to counterbalance that voice and say, oh, but you know what? I learned so much from this situation. Look at that here. You're actually rewriting your story. You're actually choosing to rewrite it. Now you're a better version of yourself. I can think back on so many things that happened in my life. And they were horrible challenges. You know, everybody's had all this stuff, right? We've all had stuff. And now I can look back with gratitude and understand how much I learned and how much I moved forward. And because of this, I understand myself at a deeper level. And so when I have challenges now, I can handle them better. So I have more joy now, because I've been able to look back and rewrite some of those stories. Yes, I've made mistakes, and it's okay, because I forgive myself for those. You know, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. So this is very important. We want to make sure we go back and look at some of those lessons. Now, if you have something that you keep going back to, a past situation, and you just keep hitting that, reliving it, re-experiencing the trauma and everything, that may be too new for you to be able to go back and go, oh yeah, well, I learned this. It might be too new still. So that's why we want to look at some other situations in your life. It might be easier to find things. If it's too new, you'll be like, well, I didn't learn anything from that. And then you'll get all in a huff, and it's not going to help you at all. So we want to do that, to find the other ways to get that lesson. Sometimes when I talk about the lessons and things, people will get upset because they'll go, but you don't understand how painful it was. You know what? I do know how painful my stuff was. And I'm sure your stuff was very painful too. And we have that. We're human. This is how life works. It's unfortunate. We have that. Holding on to that perception that, you know, this is how life is. Yes, we're going to have this stuff. But when you do that life review and you go back and you look at things and you can say, well, you know what? That was really, really horrible back there. I didn't think I was going to ever get through it, but I did. And now I can see the gratitude in that. You know, after my brother died, I remember thinking about how grateful I was with all the people who were helping my mom. You know, sending her money, you know, just being there for her and listening. And that doesn't minimize the fact that my brother died. What it does is I look for the lessons of how wonderful it was that these people stepped up, which showed me that that's something I can do if somebody else has a similar or a situation where I think to myself, oh, I can do that. I can help them in this way. So there are lessons to be learned in everything, no matter what it is. But if we consciously, intentionally go back, that helps. Now, to finish rewriting our story. So what do we need to say in whatever situation is hitting your head, whatever it is? What is it you need to say that will help you feel complete? We want to finish the story. We want to heal that incompleteness. We want to heal whatever is unresolved. Physically, we say to ourselves, well, it's only going to be resolved if the other person tells me this, or it's only going to be resolved if that person comes back from the dead, or it's only going to be resolved if this. But no, to heal the past means we have to accept the past. It is there. We have to deal with that. But we're going to consciously, intentionally make the choice to move forward. We're going to say to ourselves, you know what? I understand this, and I'm going to choose joy instead. But I still have something I've got to get rid of here. Okay? I've got to get rid of this. What we want to do is to heal. We want to stop giving our power to that fictional story that keeps us stuck. Okay, the story we tell ourselves isn't true. It's not true. It's telling us how we're wrong, how we're not good enough. So we want to stop giving our power there. So we're going to further rewrite the story to resolve those missing parts, those things that we need to say. And checking the comments, it's all about shifting our energy. What I personally found myself, streaming myself, how much energy I expend on rehashing the past, trying to use my energy for positive things. Yes, the first time I heard the phrase, you know, if somebody's mad at you or you're mad at them, that you're actually giving your power to them. The first time I heard that, I thought, and this was many years ago, I remember thinking, what does that mean? I'm giving my power to them. But what I'm doing is I'm taking my emotional energy and I'm basically amplifying that story. I'm making it bigger. And when I do that, I'm giving my power away. When I decide to change the interpretation, release the story, face the emotions without the story, I'm taking my power back. And when I take my power back, that's when I can handle whatever's happening in my life and when I can break the pattern of rehashing the past. Okay, this is all about getting your power back. So for our final step here tonight, this is a way to resolve unsaid things that you cannot say now physically for whatever reason. And we want to resolve these things. So, Jackie, I feel like I've come a long way, and then something triggers the painful past. This may help you, Jackie. I tried this. I did this myself with some of my situations, and it really helped. I call it a forgiveness and releasing pain letter. Okay. What this does is it helps us process those incomplete communications. For whatever reason, we cannot say what we need to say. Sometimes as we do this, it also helps us sort things out in our own minds. It helps us move from one thought to the next as we get going. This is a very powerful process when it's done with the intention of healing and releasing the pain from the past. Okay, now you might want to take notes on this. With any luck, I'll post the statements tomorrow for you. And I'm going to go through them. But I'm going to explain this all out to you. So what you can do, I call it a letter because you can write it out. You don't have to necessarily write it. You can also say it out loud. And you repeat each phrase as needed. And you may notice you'll say one thing and then another phrase comes up, another thing you want to bring up here. So I'll go through them. Before you begin, what you want to do is you want to visualize the person that this situation is attached to. Usually there's a person involved here. So whether it's somebody who is passed on and you have an incomplete communication with that person, or you have family members from the past who were horrible to you, or whatever it is, or you beat yourself up because of the mistakes you made, whoever it is, it can be yourself. You want to visualize that person in front of you. And when you do that, and you can just close your eyes and you can just think about them right there in front of you. You want to notice the emotional reaction. It will come. It just comes. Boom. There it is. Okay. What you want to do. So say, following through with whoever this was who had an affair. If he were my husband and I saw him in front of me, I would bet that I would be really angry. Okay, so he's in front of me and I feel angry. So you just want to notice it. Okay, we're not going to feed it. We're not going to step into it. We just want to notice it. It's like data collection right now. So then what you do is you say, dear whoever it is. If you're doing this with yourself, you use your own name. Dear Colleen, I would say to myself. So, and you start with the phrase, I want you to know. So with this guy, Bob, we'll call him Bob. Bob had an affair. Dear Bob, I want you to know how much you hurt me. I want you to know that I can't believe you did that to me. I want you to know that I thought I would never be able to move on. I want you to know that I've started drinking. But whatever it is, whatever comes up, and you can just keep going until that feels complete. The next one, okay, so I want you to know, then I forgive you for. Okay, this could be hard for some of us, right? I forgive you for. But just go with it. See what comes up. I forgive you for having an affair. That's pretty straightforward. Now, you may feel inside going, no. But I forgive you for having an affair. I forgive you for not telling me what was wrong. I forgive you for not being there for me. I forgive you for hiding. I forgive you for stealing our money and buying presents for her. Whatever it is, okay? So I forgive you for. Then we move into I'm sorry I apologize for, whichever feels right to you. I'm sorry I didn't communicate with you as much as I should have. I'm sorry I didn't validate your emotions when you tried to tell me something important. I'm sorry that I didn't pick you up at the airport. I'm sorry I didn't make your coffee right. Whatever comes up for you. Then what you do next is thank you for. So thank you for helping me become stronger. Thank you for letting me go. How many times have we had a horrible relationship that ended and then the love of our lives came in next? So I thank you for letting me go. I thank you for showing me that I have the resilience to handle anything that comes my way. I thank you for helping me speak my truth. Whatever you want to thank him for. Next is I release or let go of. I release the pain. I let go of my feelings of loss. I let go of wanting everything to be the way it used to be. I let go of the guilt that I wasn't there for you as much as I should have. I let go of the fear that I'm never going to find anybody else. I let go of whatever is right. Next statement. Goodbye, Bob. Goodbye, relationship. Goodbye, job, for that matter, if you had a job that you lost. The goodbye, what we're doing with that is we're releasing the pain. We're literally basically saying goodbye, Bob, and all of the pain that goes with Bob. Okay, we're releasing it. If you're doing something like this with somebody who's passed to the other side and you're trying to release some of that grief and trauma from that, when you say goodbye to whoever it is, you're not saying goodbye, I will never feel you or experience your energy again. You're saying goodbye to the pain of the loss, okay? So you do that, whatever it is. So you say goodbye. And then this next step, you're going to talk to yourself. I am proud of myself for learning. I am proud of myself for growing. I am proud of myself for trying to forgive. I am proud of myself for being willing to release the pain and choose joy. I am proud of myself for doing the best I can. And I love myself. Very important that we finish it off that way. Okay. Then what you're going to do, you've gone through this, you repeat everything as much as you need until you feel like you've completed it. So this is not something you can just whip off. And that's why I didn't say close your eyes, we're going to do it all together, because this is something where you're going to need to have a seat, do some breathing, just see how it goes. I did this actually walking on the beach one time, and that really helped a lot. Okay, so when you've done this, you've gone through all these statements, the next thing you do is visualize that person in front of you again and notice your emotional reaction. If you've gone through this process, you should find the related difficult emotions, because you probably had one, have diminished or totally disappeared. What this is doing is it's helping us process the emotions that we've gotten stuck in. Okay, so we've gone through the present, we've gone through shifting that story and letting go of the story so we can see the emotions and experience them authentically. Okay, then we've looked for some lessons just to kind of build up ourselves so we understand that we are resilient, that we are strong, we are capable. And then if there's anything left over, because sometimes we get those stubborn emotions that just don't go, that's when we can move into this forgiveness letter. It sounds so simple, and I'm sure many of you have heard in the past about writing a forgiveness letter. Write somebody a letter, don't mail it to them. You're just going to write it. It's for your own process. You're not mailing this. Be clear on that. And people kind of dismiss it in their thoughts. Oh, well, yeah, I know about writing a letter. But until you've done it and you've done the process, you may not know what you're talking about. So I used to hear about this all the time. Oh yeah, write a letter. And then I finally did it. I think the added benefit of visualizing the person in front of you and noticing the emotional reaction at the beginning and the end, it does help you see it. As you're going through this process, these questions, these statements, you may notice you have an emotional reaction. If you do, let it be, let it come up, let it be there. You will feel so much clearer after. I guarantee it. You will feel clear. You'll think, oh, this is so much better. You might be tired, if you cry a lot or something, but you have moved your energy. You've cleared yourself out. Okay? And that works very well. I'm going to check the comments. Yes. So Jackie, we talked about her. My husband died unexpectedly 8 years ago, and I'm having difficulty moving on with my life. I'm proud of myself. I have a long way to go. Your talks helped me. I met you last summer, and you touched me. Oh, thank you, Deb. I did teach a grief workshop this past summer. And I don't think I'm doing it again this summer. I can't remember what I'm teaching this summer, but some of this is from that, and the letter is a variation of that we do in there too. It's very hard when we've lost our husbands, children, people who are very close to us. It's very hard, and I think sometimes we forget or we feel uncomfortable showing and expressing our grief because how it affects other people, and we want to allow the emotions to come up, of course, and it's traumatic. So we have to take our own time to move through that. Now, one thing I can tell you as a medium is I have yet to have a spirit say to me, "Oh, I hope they stay sad forever and stuck in their emotions." They've never ever said anything that even vaguely implies that. It's always, "I love you so much. I'll see you in a minute," because there is no time. "I'll see you in a minute. I want you to live your life and be happy." I have never heard a spirit say anything other than that. They want you to be happy. So that does help some. It does not, I know, make up for the physical loss and the physical missing, and I understand that. But it does help a little bit to think about that. Leanne, do you find this works when you wish to forgive yourself for hurting someone else? Yes. And what you might try, if, Leanne, you have a problem visualizing yourself in front of yourself, because sometimes it's hard to do that, you could visualize the other person in front of you. Because what may happen is that will trigger what you need to bring up. You know, you might feel some guilt, you might feel some sadness, whatever comes up. And then it'll be easier to kind of sneak yourself in there. So you visualize them first, and then basically you're going to move into yourself. Forgiveness is such a huge step for us. And forgiving others is really wonderful in that it helps us release that pain. It's not approving, of course, but it's releasing it and accepting whatever is. That's the healing aspect. And sometimes we find it hard to forgive ourselves. We've been brought up to be perfect. We've been brought up to please others, to not make other people upset. You know, if you're a people pleaser or a perfectionist, that can really get you. So open up to that, the abilities. If you can somehow shift yourself, so visualize the other person, put yourself in there, that may work. And let's see. And you know, in Leanne, actually, and anybody else who's interested in self-forgiveness, and I think probably all of us need to do it for something, right? The very first statement was, "I want you to know." And you could be talking to yourself, "I want you to know that I understand you were doing the best you could. I want you to know that this was a mistake. You know, I didn't really mean it. I know it came out that way, you know." So kind of think of yourself as being somebody else and see how that goes. Sometimes when I'm having a problem, I coach myself. Okay, if I were a client of my own, what would I say? And that really helps a lot. So maybe thinking of it that way, you know, if you were a client of yourself, what would you say to yourself? And see, that may help too. So healing the past, okay? Lots of times we think we have to go back and relive it. You know, when we think of counseling, sometimes we go back and we rehash. That can be helpful to a point. We don't have to go back there. If we get stuck there, what we're doing is we're wasting our moments, our present moments, replaying the past. This moment is a new beginning. This is where you get to make that choice. You get to make the choice of how you're going to move forward now. You know, how are you going to move forward? What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to stay in the story? Or are you going to choose the joy? So getting back into the present, check in with your body, use your senses. Quick way to get back. There's lots of other ways to get into the present, but that's a quick one I like to use. Then you make that decision to let go of the stories. Healing the past is being willing to let go of the interpretations, the stories you tell yourself that disempower you, leaving you stuck in pain. It's just being willing to. You do your best you can. Don't judge yourself and say, "Oh, I can't quite let that one go. It's just not working. I can't quite do it." You want to do the best you can. Just making the choice to being willing opens up the energy and gets it flowing. You want to rewrite those stories of how you failed or you weren't good enough or how you're blaming other people and you're the victim. You want to rewrite those and instead look for those hidden blessings, the hidden lessons. Look for the strengths within yourself, the resilience you have. Look for how you're willing to do this. That's huge. And then if you have those stubborn emotions that still need to be processed, and even if you don't, sometimes it's really helpful to do that forgiveness letter again, just to get into that, because that helps to release the pain. You move into that forgiveness intentionally, but it also helps to bring up those emotions and process them. And believe me, you won't get stuck in it forever. You really won't. It's going to be amazing. Let's see. King Korik, good teaching, showing us a different way. When I go through a breakup, I say in my mind, I picture the person, I love you, I forgive you, I set you free. Say it 3 times a day till the negative emotions are gone. Yes, and what that's doing is we're setting an intention. We're setting an intention to let the person go. We're setting an intention to let the emotions go. We're setting that intention to let the pain go. Without taking action, and all of these are action steps. Whenever we choose, we're taking action. It can be action to choose to change our perception. It can be a physical action. So we choose to get back in the present. We choose to let go or rewrite the story. We choose to face the emotions in their purest form without adding to the suffering with negative interpretations, disempowering interpretations. We choose it. Okay, that's an action step. We choose to look for how we succeeded in the past, how we were resilient. We choose to send forgiveness. It may not be instantaneous, especially if it's been a huge, huge loss or a huge problem. It may not be instantaneous, but the simple action step of choosing sets the energy in motion. Rewriting the story doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It doesn't mean you approve of somebody else's actions or your own actions. Okay, or that you're happy with a traumatic loss. What it means is you're choosing to take responsibility for your part in the story, for your joy, for your decisions. You're releasing your need to hold on to the past. You can heal that past so you can move forward, creating the life you want to have. I think sometimes these unbidden thoughts that pop into our heads that really get in there and and we wonder why are they here again? I thought I got rid of this. I thought I had solved this. I thought I had processed it all. I think sometimes what happens is they just come up, but because it's time for you to process another layer so that you can get back to your soul, get back to who you really are. And it's really these reliving of the past, it's just a way for you to keep learning about yourself. And so your soul says, okay, now they're ready. Now they can take care of this one. We're going to go one more layer deeper. We're just going to go one more layer deeper so they love themselves deeper. That's what they usually do. Okay, so let's see. I told you about that. I did that. That was really what I wanted to talk about. I do want to remind you, in case you missed it from the beginning, I am going to be teaching a free course starting January 11th, 5 days in a row, Facebook Live on my Spiritual Growth and Support Group page, which there's a link to that pinned to the top of my Facebook page, Colleen Vander Zijden, Medium and Intuitive Life Coach. And you can sign up for that there. You just make a request to join and I will approve you. So we are going to have 5 days. We're going to talk about creating less stress and more joy in 2021 as you being your courageous self. Different strategies you can use to handle pretty much any circumstance that comes, all about perspective shifts, all about taking action, all about reclaiming your power. So very important for us. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I'll be going live from that group the 5 days in a row. And there you go. And it's free. So win-win here. So it will be fun. And I'll tell you about some other things that I'll be doing after that. Okay, good. Can I get a recording of this past hour? This will, Barb, be on my Facebook page. So you should be able to see it there. You might be able to download it if you wanted to. Seems to me, I'm trying to think. We've kind of gotten behind on putting my shows on YouTube where you can download the audio only. but we'll try. But anyway, it will be on my page. It will take a little bit for it to process. So I want to thank you guys all for joining me. You can connect with me at ColleenVanderzijden.com or psychicmediumcolleen.com. Same thing, same link takes you to my website. Little bit behind, need to update. I've been working on my radio shows. I spend more time doing that than anything else. I really like to be prepared when I'm talking to you. Make sure I know what I'm talking about before I start. Follow me, of course, Colleen Vanderzijden, Medium and Intuitive Life Coach. You can see what's happening. Join the group if you think you might be interested in spiritual growth, or if you'd like to participate in the free course I'll be doing in January. And lilydaleassembly.org, Lily Dale Assembly Incorporated on Facebook is the official page. And you guys, I would love to hear stories if you guys do the processes and things like that. I will post the statements to do for the forgiveness letter so you can see it in case you didn't write it down and you want to have it and see how it goes. So have a great New Year. We have that's coming up soon, right? Like 2 days. Happy New Year on Thursday. Woohoo! Yes, amen on that one, right? So we're going to move into 2021. That's what the course is about, actually, helping you intentionally move into 2021 and getting out of our reactive energy that we've all had to use for this year. So we're going to be intentional for 2021. So you guys have a great week. Happy New Year, and I will talk to you next week. Have fun. Bye.